Hey guys, how you doing? This is Gene Jensen, and it's time for another, I guess, Friday Night Live. So anyway, getting a little thing set up. I just got home. I drove a little over 9.5 hours to get back home this morning. Had to get on the water at daylight and finish a video real quick, and then I jumped on the road and drove straight home. So uh, good evening. Good evening. Goodness. This is going to be a short one. I'm pretty tired, so we're going to probably run this for about a half hour. Um, so, hey guys, how's everybody doing? I'm gonna let a few people get on, and then we're gonna get things rocking and rolling. It's been a good week. Spent the uh, spent the week down in Florida in Fellsmere fishing. I guess they're calling it Lake Fellsmere, or anyway, it's a lake right next to Stick Marsh. Kayak access only. Took the Bonafide down there and plopped it in the water every morning, and just had a blast filming, and had 13 fishings. Media guy there again this week, first day, and he was filming and flying the drone and getting all sorts of cool pictures of some nice fish that we caught. So, hey Alan, how's it going, man? But it's been a good week. I'm just whooped. As you can see, I've had a lot of sun, and that's with wearing sun protection. But it was an awesome week. RC Ridgecrest asked, "How's the Bonafide?" We'll get to that here in just a second. I'll definitely talk about the Bonafide. Um, Jonathan Walls met me at Knoxville fishing show. Yep, that was a fun one. That was a last minute trip I didn't know I was going to take until I decided I was going to go. Yeah, Tyler, we caught some good fish. I didn't break 8 pounds, but at least I don't think I broke 8 pounds. 8 pounds. I'd have to look at my scale. It keeps track of the fish that I weighed, but I know I caught a couple over 7. I caught some 5s. The big females that we caught a week and a half ago have moved back out. They've spawned, moved back out into deep water. So a lot of fry around. I'll tell you one thing that surprised me this week is the number of tilapia that are in that lake, and big ones. So that was exciting to see a bunch of tilapia. Made me want to get my old fishing bow and arrow out and stick some, but I didn't. Um, Michael Downs, that's gonna hurt tomorrow. No, I don't normally hurt. This isn't really much of a sunburn. I'll get red a minute, and then day after tomorrow it won't be red anymore. Um, Ryan Victorio asked, "When's the new setup video coming out?" I'm assuming you mean kayak setup video. I don't know. I gotta finish playing around with it, um, getting things put together, fish out of it a little bit more. I'm happy with it right now, but I just want to get more experience. I don't like to give my opinion on things before I have a good set amount of experience with it. So as for right now, I'm pretty happy with it. How's the Christopher Sanford? How's the rubber wedding ring holding up? Did your finger dry out? I like the camo one. These are pretty cool. They're called. I'm gonna take it off for a second. For those of you that are married, I always worried about ripping my skin off my fingers, and some of the things I do. I've worked in the ER for so long, and I saw so many of those injuries. But it's called Instinct Rings. INSTYNCT, and it's got a little bass on it. I don't know if you guys can see it. See if it'll focus. Focus on my hand. There you go. It's got a little bass on it, which is pretty cool. But anyway, so I started wearing uh, little rubber rings to keep from ripping my fingers off, because I do things that my hand. I don't wear watches for that reason. I break watches all the time because I'll rip them off my arm. Um, Mark Schilling, I noticed you used a T-bone bed extender when you picked up that kayak. Any thoughts on it? Uh, yeah, my truck bed's 5.5 feet. I've had that T-bone for a long time. I've had it, oh my gosh, 3 4 years. I love it. Absolutely love it. It's my when I bought it, my driveway was really steep, and I couldn't use a regular bed extender. I had to have one that turned up like that, and that one was perfect. It's aluminum. It comes apart, slides behind the seat of the truck. Just a really really good bed extender. And Boondocks makes some good stuff, and they continually come out with some new things every year. They got a really cool trailer I'm looking at right now because I got to be able to haul a couple of kayaks around. Um, Jerry, us wintry Michigans are jealous of your warm weather fishing. Yeah, uh, but I get jealous of your cool weather fishing in the middle of the summertime. That's for sure. Um, it's hotter than blue blazes around here in the summertime. Um, and why the Bonafide? Because didn't you just get the Liska? I got the Liska to do a review, and without going into details, because a lot of these are just private details between me and Jackson. It was time for me to step away from Jackson. I got to the point where I just couldn't sleep at night thinking about thinking about Jackson. So got pretty stressful, and so I stepped away from it. Gotten a lot of flack from it from some of you guys, but just understand that there was a darn good reason. Had nothing to do with money. I took a huge pay cut doing it. It was just time to go, and so now I'm trying to figure out. Now I'm trying to work a lot harder to make up for that money I lost by leaving Jackson. But it is what it is. I mean, I feel a lot better now about it. I'm happier that I'm not, that I'm moving on. So, and the Bonafide, Bonafide's owned by the same owner as Yak Attack, and I've been sponsored by Yak Attack for over a year now. And so it was just a matter of a phone call and saying, hey, is there room for me on your pro staff? And so, and the rest of it's history. So, it is what it is. I hate running a business. It's no fun. I'd rather just make videos. Jonathan Walls says, I am fishing a high school tournament at the Battle of Chickamauga in April. What can I catch some bass on in April? March, April. Grass will be chatterbaits, square bills. There should be a shad spawn going on about right then. So spinner baits along seawalls in the morning until the sun hits the water. I've got a really good video that I filmed on Chickamauga last year at that time, all about fishing seawalls and fishing the shad spawn. So, Paul says, enjoyed the bugs crawling on your face in the stick marsh. Yes, that was not fun. After I did that live video, literally I was blowing bugs out of my nose for like 20 minutes. It sucked. That was a lot of nasty, stupid bugs. Um, what's my favorite brand of frogs to throw? I really don't have a favorite brand. I use a lot of Spros. I use Booyah Pad Crashers. I use Rivets. I mean, I use a whole bunch of different ones. I don't have a favorite. I just whichever one I pull out and use. It all depends on the fish. I always pick 4 colors. I like one with a yellow bottom. I like one with a white bottom. I like one with a brown bottom, and I like one with a black bottom. That's it. I don't care about the top color or anything else. And so that's why that's what I look at when I pick a frog. What are some tips for fishing suspended bass? Whew. About the best lure that I know of to catch suspended bass is a fish head spin with a little baby fluke on there, or super fluke junior. I'm sorry, not a baby fluke. What do you think of the Whopper Plopper? It is an absolutely amazing topwater bait. It works best when there's wind on the water, and a buzzbait works best when there's no wind on the water, when it's slick calm. What's my favorite line through swim bait? I don't have a favorite line through swim bait. What is your take, Brian Jones? What is your take on fishing moving baits while bass are spawning? I do that a lot because I don't really like to fish for bedded bass. I can do it, I'm good at it, but I'd rather cover area. So that's all I was doing the last couple of weeks down in Florida, is throwing a paddle tail swim bait and throwing it through the spawning areas, and they were crushing it. So Stephen Walden, are you going to Bass U 17th and the 19th? If that's the one in Alabama, yes, sir. I will be there. It's going to be the Bass University seminars. It's a 2-day seminar, $160 for the 2 days, I think, or 108. Don't quote me on that. It's 100 something, and it is in crap, I can't remember the name of the city. Anyway, it's in Alabama. Steven will know. What trolling motor do you recommend, and what's thrust for my boat? For your aluminum boat, Phantom Fishing is I would get at least a 70-pound thrust trolling motor. I told Lumacraft this last year. I was like, if you're going to make a 19-foot boat or a 17 to 19-foot boat, the minimum trolling motor that needs to come on it is 70-pound thrust. That way you no longer have the wind issues. The reason why aluminum boats are so bad in the wind is because they underpower them with the trolling motor. And so once you get a good enough trolling motor, you're just fine. So what's the best rod for the price? In my opinion, the Fate Chrome is the best rod, $80. So I feel like it's about a $120 rod. I love them. I absolutely love them. It's the same rods as the Blackout, same blanks as the Blackout, different guides, different handles, and they have a lot more actions and powers than you did in the Blackout model. So did you see where Booyah made something like a sprinkler frog? No, I haven't, but oh my goodness. I knew that was coming. Just bought my first kayak, Pelican Catch 120. That's a good kayak. You'll like that one. Is this any good fishing kayak? Yes, it is. It's good first kayak. Like I always say a lot of times with people, kayak fishermen's favorite kayak is their second one. Get one that you can afford, buy a good paddle, and you'll eventually upgrade to a better one. But just get out there and learn the ropes. Do you replace your line every off season? Is it necessary? I use mostly braided line. I do replace my fluorocarbon probably annually. I only use fluorocarbon on my cranking rods and stuff like that, or when it starts to feel bad. A lot of kinks and nicks and stuff. But my braid I'll keep on there for 2 years and then flip it over to the other end of it and fish it for another 2 years. Have I tried to cast king reels? Yes, I have. I was asked to do a review for them 2 years ago, I believe. And I tried out their spinning reels, and I tried out their bait casters, and I called them, and I tried out their reel rods, and I called them and said I cannot do a review. And so I didn't. I didn't like them, and so there were some serious issues with their rods and things like that. And I was honest with them. I said I just can't do it. Would you recommend 13 Fishing Origin TX as a nice reel for the price? I don't know. I have never messed with that reel. I need to. I think I held it once at iCast, and I cannot tell you. And they make good reels, but I can't tell you about the TX. What's a good cranking rod? I'm guessing you're talking about shallow square bills and that kind of stuff. Any medium moderate action rod would be good for that. Medium heavy if you're throwing bigger square bills and bigger crankbaits. So what was that Chickamauga today? Didn't catch anything. Tried jerkbait all day. Any thoughts? What depends on the water temperature. My guess is that the water's beginning to warm up, or it will within the next week because we got warm temperatures. That's a good little lesson real quick, guys. I'm sorry I'm missing a whole bunch of questions. But when your nighttime air temperatures are higher than your water temperature on your lake, when you have 4 or 5 days of that where your nighttime temperatures are warmer than the water, your water's going to warm up. And that, to me, is a start of the pre-spawn. That's when the bass start to move, and a lot of them get to the back of the creek as fast as they can. But that's when they start to move, and that's when I'm going to start picking up the lipless crankbaits, and I'm going to slow roll them and try to bounce them off of everything. The chatterbaits. Chatterbait's probably better than the lipless for this. You just let it sink to the bottom and just barely start cranking it off the bottom and let it bounce and hit things on their way. But it will get stuck in sticks and stuff. Weeks with this warm up. What's my favorite? And if it cools off, they're going to go back up. Is all they'll do. What's my favorite frog popper or normal brand? I love the Spro popping frogs. That's what when it comes to popping frogs, that's the only one I use. But other topwater frogs, I use the whole gamut. It doesn't matter the brand. Have I tried Shimano reels? Not in a couple of years. I'm not a fan of Shimano. I never have been. I used to have one of the old green Curados. I've bought a ton of the silver Gen 2 Curados, and I never felt like when I had them in my hand that they were as they felt like they were worth what they were charging, and they never felt like felt like they were their price point. And that's just me. I mean, that's my opinion. So, what's my favorite Ryan? What's my favorite spinnerbait brand? I have one that I do prefer called the Strike Back from Mega Strike, mainly because they last forever. Well, not forever, but they last a long time. And the other ones that I use are the Strike King spinnerbaits. Buy my first kayak paddle or kayak paddle or pedal. Why? Um, I'm a paddle guy. I love to fish super shallow water. I could not have fished a pedal drive this week in Florida. I could not have fished a pedal drive in Louisiana. I don't. Pedal drives get caught in the grass. They're not good for shallow water. If I was fishing professional tournaments, kayak tournaments, I'd own a pedal drive, probably a Hobie, and a paddling kayak, which I love the Bonafide. But anyway. What fish have you caught that made you feel the most accomplished? Ooh, that's a good question. Who asked that question? Hold on. Anthony's Fishing Adventures. That 250-pound Goliath or 225-pound Goliath grouper that I caught out of the mayfly. I was scared to death. I don't like catching things that weigh more than me, but yeah, that was fun, and I didn't get flipped out, or flipped over, so I felt pretty accomplished for that. So, um, thinking about moving to Florida, do alligators leave kayakers alone? Yes, they do. The other night, if you guys follow my Instagram and on my Instagram stories, I literally paddled over an 8-foot alligator in 2 feet of water. I hit him with my paddle. I was just waiting for him to come up and bump the bottom of my kayak, and he didn't. He didn't move. He let me go on past. Scared the crap out of me, but he let me go on past. So I've never, like I always tell people about alligators, we're not on their menu. We really aren't. So, um, let's see, expensive rods versus cheap rods. You know, when the economy tanked way back in the day, before that, rods were $2, $3, $4, $500, and the fact that we could no longer afford those rods forced the companies to figure out how to make good quality rods for between $80 and $100, or $60 and $100, and the ones that did that and did it well are the ones that are really growing fast right now, like 13. But love it. Absolutely love those rods. But anyway, what do you think of the Live Target brand? Depends on the lure. I've had some crankbaits from Live Target that weren't very good. The sunfish, the large sunfish has a horrible hookup ratio, but the small one does not. Um, it's kind of hit and miss, but there are some good stuff that comes out from them every year. Pitching and flipping souls. I love that name. Are you going to do more bank fishing videos? I hope to this summer. I got a lot on my plate, but if not, I'm gonna hand some cameras to my kids and let them go do it. But yeah, I'd love to do some bank fishing videos. But I'll have to plan some. Have you tried any backstabber lures? No, I haven't. What is your go-to camera for filming videos when you're off the water? I have a Canon 80D is what I use, and I have a couple of lenses to go with that. So the lenses are worth more than the camera. NFA TV says, when it comes to two anglers in a boat, what is the best inexpensive John boat, and what size would be best for two anglers? If they were like my size, 200 pounds, 200 plus, I'd start with a 14-foot John boat and have it fairly wide. I can't remember how wide the beam was on my old John boat, but a wide John boat would do you the best, about 14 feet. Why are spotted bass better than largemouth? Why do I like catching spotted bass better than I like catching largemouth? Because when you catch a 2-pounder, until you see it, you think it's 4. That's the reason. I love how they fight. How you feel about small size Alabama rigs for bank fishing? I would only do that if I used a weedless jig hook is what I would do. And who makes one that's really good? Shane's Baits makes a really good weedless jig hook. for Alabama rigs. And the cool thing about it is it's a light wire. So if you're using braided line, you'll be able to pull it. If you get it snagged up, you'll be able to pull and straighten that hook out and at least get your Alabama rig back. Do I have a rod brand that would be good for two-piece rods? I know 13 makes them. I don't think that they sell them in stores. You might want to look on their website. I have a four-piece rod that they made me, which is a bluegill rod. It's a 7-foot medium light or 7-foot light. And the connections, I always worry about the connections and stuff like that. They were spot on. So I'd look at that. Other than that, man, I really don't know. I don't like the ones that have the metal ferrules. They have to have the carbon fiber ferrules. If you find one that does that, they're usually a pretty good rod. Does Tackle Warehouse? Okay, Robert Phillips says Tackle Warehouse has two-piece 13 rods. Cool. Bait and switch. I'm so pissed I'm late. It's okay, man. I'm gonna do this for a little bit. I'm gonna get off a little early. I'm waiting for my wife to come home. Our anniversary's tomorrow. We've been married 18 years. Actually, it's on Sunday, but we're celebrating it tomorrow. So we've been married for a long time, and we still love each other. Can you believe that mess? What kind of GoPro do I have? I have a Session that I just bought this week, 2 Hero 5s, and 2 Hero 3s, and I use all of them at the same time. I use a 3, a 5, and a Session at the same time. So, want to use Concept Z for heavier bed rig. Your thoughts? It'll work. It'll work just fine. It's got that, I think it's 27 pounds of drag or 22 pounds of drag. It'll work just fine. Only thing I would not use it on because it's not a wide spool is big heavy swim baits. What rank was I in the Army? I'm assuming when I got out, I was an E4. I was about to go to the boards to get my E5, and they let 45 E5s reclass into my MOS, reclass into my job, which made it to where I would not become an E5 for another 4 years, which would have put me in the Army for 9 years before I got an E5. So it was time to get out. So, let's see. Am I fishing the Peach State Kayak Anglers March tournament? I have it on my calendar. It just depends. I usually don't know till a couple of days before, but I hope to. JR Outdoors, thanks for your service. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Are certain bait casters better for light lures than others? Yes. What I have found in the past is the cheap ones are very difficult. Even the Origins from 13, I wouldn't be throwing really, really light stuff on. You can with some good technique, but the Concept Z is going to be an amazing light lure bait because it's just so smooth. The last one I had was a Daiwa Fuego or a Daiwa Pixie. I can't remember which one those I had, but that was the last one I had that really was an amazing light lure reel. Is a Concept C worth $230 price tag? Yes, it is. It's light. I don't like white reels is my problem, but I love the C's. Just how durable they are. How did the Nico Fluke rig work out for you? It didn't. Let me tell you about my first kayak tournament. I was gonna make a video. It was awesome. I got to my lake. It's my home lake, 10 miles away. I got to it, and there were millions of dead shad on the bank. And I'm like, okay, let me act like a dead shad. Jerkbait, Nico rig fluke. Let's go fishing. I caught one yellow bass or one sand bass on I was vertically jigging a spoon or something. I can't remember what I had. And then I grabbed a blade bait, threw it out, let it sink to the bottom, jerked it up, and caught a dead shad that's been dead for, 3-4 days. I threw it out there 4 casts in a row and caught 4 dead shad off the bottom. That's when I said, you know what? I'm not catching a bass because this whole lake is covered with dead shad all on the bottom. There's stuff. The bass are just sitting there waiting for the shad to fall in their mouth. I wasn't going to catch squat. Out of the 35 anglers, 5 or 6 anglers caught fish. 1 caught 3, and the rest of them caught 1. So, and it was all in the other lake. I was in the wrong lake. So, will I ever put out a real maintenance video? I'd love to see something like that. Would be good learning video for many. I have one that's really old that I do with a Revo, with a Abu Garcia Revo. I wouldn't mind doing another one, at least for the 13s, because they're a little bit different when you take them apart. They got the tiniest little part that you can lose real easy. That I've never seen a part of a reel so small, and all it is a clicker for the drag. Um, are the guides a factor when choosing a rod? For me, yeah, I don't like microbot guides, but I don't like the full size ones either. I want those medium micros, I think is what they call them. And I want to make sure they have an SIC. I want to call it. I think they call it a SIC tip top. The SIC is just the material that they use, and it's braid resistant. The braid doesn't cut into it. How much do you fish with chatterbaits, and what trailers do you use? I fish with chatterbaits all the time. Um, Fall, not in the wintertime, but I start in pre-spawn and I'll fish it whenever I'm fishing grassy lakes. And my favorite trailers are a paddle tail swim bait and that Strike King little blade swimmer, or what they ever call it. They're made for chatterbaits, and so those are the ones I like to use the most. Have I ever used a suicide duck? No, I have not. Sorry, NFA. Ever use any of the Dobbins rods? Yes. In my opinion, the best rod on the market, and yes, I'm sponsored by 13. The best rod on the market is the Dobbins, uh, what do they call it? The Dobbins Champion Extreme is, and every one of those rods are amazing. But the Champion Extreme is that's the best rod on the market. I don't care. I don't care what anybody thinks. That's what I think. What's my preference? What is my preference? Old bait shops or big box stores? Old bait shops. Every chance I get, I go and buy stuff from mom and pop shops. So I got one right here, Country Sportsman, right here in Rome. I'm there quite often. Any California fishing in the future? I hope to go this year. That's the plan. Sometime in June, grab my boat, hook it up to the truck, throw the kayak on top, and take off and head west. We will see. It may end up being a little bit later because my wife wants to go out there and go to Yellowstone. So it's all going to be a matter of what my family plans are. Do I plan on fishing Lanier this year? Now that you're over this way, have any favorite spots? Lanier is 2 hours and 20 minutes from me. I might fish it a few times, especially if I meet up with Kicking Their Bass TV on Noah Piscatelli. His dad lets me stay at his house, so that might be a fun little trip. Can you make a shout out to Jen? She's listening to you. Thank you, brother. Shout out, Jen. That's awesome. What do you use to lock your equipment up with? I don't know what you mean. My kayak, I use Canoe Locks, which is a lockable strap that's got two stainless steel cables through it. Other than that, I lock them up in my truck and lock them up on my barn and everywhere else. Jake Albright, what would be your go-to clear water bait in the summer in a heavy grass and some wood small lake? Woo! Square bill crankbait. In the wood and in the grass, probably a chatterbait. Hard to say one lure. Quintanamo M, if you had to have either a spinning setup for the rest of your career or bait casting. Bait casting. Reason is because I can get more cast in with a bait caster. I love spinning rods, but when you learn how to use a bait caster, you can get 3 times as many casts in the same amount of time, which means more cast, more fish. How much drag is needed on a reel for flipping heavy brush? Ben Coates. At least 12 pounds. At least 12 pounds. And the way I set a hook, really, I'd say 18 plus. But and I crank those things all the way down, 65-pound braid. So you going to meet up with Tactical while you're in Cali? Yes, I hope to. Matt and I have been friends for, well, longer than YouTube's been around. So It's gonna be cool to hang out with him. Are you still fishing out of Jackson kayaks? If so, which one is the best for the money? I am not fishing out of a Jackson kayak. I left them last week or a week before last. Um, but the best Jackson for the money is going to be the Liska. I mean, it's a small boat. It doesn't have a lot of storage compared to the Mayfly. It's like the little brother of the Mayfly. But I was really impressed with it. It's a good, stable kayak. Um, Now, if you're looking for something that's really, really stable, the Bonafide is the most stable kayak I've ever been in, and I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to do a video about it. I may copy Alex's video. Alex is fishing. He's down in Florida. Took the Bonafide out, and he's not sponsored by Bonafide. I think he just borrowed it from a shop or something. Put it in the water, and the guy flew a drone around him, video camera going, and he tried to flip it, and he had the hardest time. He walked from the nose to the back and everything over, all over the Bonafide, and was not able to flip it until he grabbed hold of the handle and rolled himself over with it. So that was impressive. I wouldn't have probably done it, but I may have to do it now. Thanks so much for the answer, Fluke. Great stuff. Loving your gear recommendations. Thanks, man. Why have you gotten away from the Ducket Ghosts? Mainly I'm 13. I'm sponsored by 13, but the reason I stopped using the Ghost, this was before I got with 13, was the tip of the Ghost is the very tip guide, or they call it the tip top, is metal, and very, very quickly, like within 3 months of using braid on that rod, they started to get grooves in it, and when you start to get grooves in the tip top, it starts to shred your line. It's just not good. So that was the biggest thing. The other one is they just turned yellow. You left them out in the sun, they left them on the deck of the boat all day and stuff like that. But in short order, they would turn yellow. So that was like why I didn't like the Ghosts. Have I tried a paddleboard? Not yet. I actually have Chad Hoover's paddleboard in my barn right now, but I have not tried it yet. Fake Chrome or Dobbins Fury? Fake Chrome all day long. What pound fluoro for flipping and pitching? 20 is what 15 to 20 is what I would use. So, what's the best 13 reel? The Concept Z. Hollow Body Square Bills thoughts. I use them all the time, all year long, except for the winter time. I use them as a search bait. I love a KVD 1.5. That's probably what I'm going to tie on first. And I throw them into everything. It doesn't matter. If I get it caught in the grass, I yank it out. If I throw it into the brush, I pull it out. I just love it. So it's one of my favorite things. Could you do a skipping tutorial? I did. There's a really good video. Look it up on my YouTube channel. Just look up how to skip a bait caster. And I talk all about the details on that one. I think I was I? Yeah, I was wearing this ugly red Georgia shirt that matched my hat. It looked like a big red flag. Let's see. Saint Crest says, "Hey Gene, big fan of for years now. Quick question about braid for topwaters. What pound test, and do you run a mono leader?" That's a good idea. I never have fished like a spook and stuff like that. I've never fished it on braid. My fishing partner for 15 years did and loved it. And I probably should have. I probably missed a lot of fish because of it. But yes, I would run braid, and I'd only run about a 3-foot long mono leader or copolymer. And one good trick, if you want it to float up a little bit higher, is keep a little block of paraffin wax in your tackle box, and in the last 3 or 4 feet of your line before the lure, just rub that wax on there to cause that line to float up even higher and make it a lot easier to walk your baits. My favorite punch gear. I like a 7-Eleven heavy. I've got one of the old blackouts. I've got a fake chrome, or my 2 punching rods. 7-Eleven, high speed 8 1-to-1 gear ratio reel, and I have that drag cranked all the way down, 65-pound braid. What do you think about the Ascend 12T kayak? I haven't been in one. I think they look pretty good. I wouldn't drag it on the ground much. I drag mine around a lot, and I probably shouldn't either. But from what I've seen, it's a good first kayak. It's and it'll last you several years if you take good care of it. Ever fish Harris Lake in North Carolina? Landon? No, I haven't. Sorry, man. I had a couple of bass play with my spinnerbait, but no catches today. Yeah, they tend to do that this time of the year. The best thing to do when that happens is either downsize your blade size or change the color of your spinnerbait to be a little bit more natural. Um, do you power down your rods for kayak fishing? Do I power down my rods? If anything, I power up my rods. Mainly because when you set the hook, your boat has some give to it, so you can lose some power to your hook sets. Is what I do. But that's why I fish mostly braid when I'm kayak fishing. So that removes that problem. What's the biggest difference between the fake black and the fake chrome rods besides price? The biggest difference is the guides, the reel seat, and the handle. They're just a higher quality guide, higher quality reel seat, and the handle to cost just a little bit more to make. So that was the price increased. What is the white gadget on your chest that has buttons that you push every so often? That is the power pole micro remote control on my kayak. So I'll push it to drop it, push it to lift it up. Ever fished on Lake Superior? No, I haven't. What lure would you for bass after the ice melts? What I use for bass is what I'm assuming. Probably a jerk bait, and another really good one that I don't talk about much is a lead-headed grub, a little fat Albert grub, white, and with some glitter in it or whatever else, with a lead head on the front, and just swim that around really slowly, bounce it off of stuff, bounce it off the bottom is what I would use. Any tips fishing tournaments tomorrow? Jacksonville, Florida. My guess is I'm trying to think of the water temperature. Because I was down in Fellsmere, which is quite a bit south, and the water temperature is a lot different. I would fish more like chatterbaits and lipless crankbaits, maybe some swim baits. Any videos with Scott Martin? I haven't heard from Scott since he started fishing with those other YouTubers. So he's kind of disappeared. How do you like the Concept Z so far? So far, it's a really good reel. Smooth as butter. I've been beating mine up. I wouldn't do what I've done to the Concept Z. I wouldn't do to any reel. I took it in the salt water. I didn't clean it. I fished it for 8 days in the salt water. I didn't clean it. I refuse to clean it this entire year just to see what's going on with it. And I fish it every day I'm fishing. So far so good. So far no issues. A little bit of noise in the cast control knob, but I've had every 13 reel, every Daiwa, every Abu that I've had, when that reel pad finally breaks in, that noise stops. And a lot of times that brake pad in the cast control knob will get dry, and you just dab a little bit of oil in it, and it'll take care of it. But that's all that is. But I haven't had any issues with it other than that. What fish finder would you recommend? I really don't know yet. I'm in the middle of trying to test out different fish finders, and every time I test one out, Lowrance discontinues it and goes on with another one or something else. So I want to try the new Lowrance Elite 2s. They are supposed to be like a very, very basic version. Everything's already preset. You don't have to worry about all the different little settings for it, and it just does it all for you. So I'm excited about trying that, but I don't know what I'm going to do. Any tips on buying used bass boats on college budget? Years old, aluminum versus fiberglass. I am 100% all for fishing out of an aluminum boat in college. It saves you money on gas. You always got to think about the daily cost, because that's what you're going to spend the most money on. My aluminum boat cost me $40 a day to run, to trailer, unless I'm going a long ways away, because I'm at $40 a day. If I had a fiberglass boat and I did the same thing, it would be between $90 and $120 a day. So think about that. Think about how much it's going to cost you to run it every single day, and that will be where you make your decision. Side scan in a kayak. Yes, I use it all the time. How much do you use side scan? All the time. Sorry, I read them both. Do you still guide? How would you be again? I don't guide anymore. I honestly don't have time. Um, and so what I always tell people when they say, how much will you charge for guiding? I always tell them $1,200 a day because it's way more than anybody would pay. But I would love to get back into it if I had time. It's one of those things. It was more of a stress relief for me taking other people fishing. So go amberjack fishing with black tip H. Yes, I need to call Josh and see what. I should have gone down there this week, but I had too much planned, and I had to get back up here for my anniversary. What's your favorite concept reel? The Z. Glass or graphite for spinner baits. Uh, Graphite. I don't use a glass rod anymore, especially for spinner baits. Am I still using the Jackson Liska? Okay, I got 176 people on here. I'm not using the Liska anymore. I left Jackson as a sponsor two weeks ago. It was a strictly a business decision. There's nothing wrong with their kayaks. They still make great kayaks. It was the business side of it. We just didn't work together well, and so hard decision for me because they were paying me. I lost a lot of money going from them to Bonafide, but I feel better about it. Bonafide, it just feels like my home, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. Uh, the kayak's good. Luther is a genius. Uh, it's going to be a good relationship, and I'll continue to be able to promote kayak fishing, but I'll be doing it out of a bona fide. So 10 or 12 foot bona fide. Robert, I don't know. I haven't been in the 10 yet. So um, Nellie's Fishing says, I love Jackson kayaks. I want to buy a Coosa HD. It's a good kayak. I would, no matter what kayak you're looking for, I would suggest that you do some test rides first. Find somebody that owns one. Go to a shop that allows you to take them out and take them for a spin. YouTube seminar on the business side of stuff. Oh, Steven, don't get me going, brother. I love you to death, but I'd lose my ever loving mind. It's tough. It's not something I really enjoy. I've got another sponsor right now that's trying to get me to hard promote stuff, his product, and from the very beginning I told him I wouldn't do that. And they got a new guy on board that evidently has not gotten that memo, and so I sent him a nice nasty email today telling him, well, it wasn't too nasty, but told him that I'm not doing it that way. So is what it is. Not fun. What would you throw on Chick or Watts bar right now? I don't know the water temperature. I have no clue. Probably a jerk bait and an A rig. Hyperlink, thanks, Fluke. Been watching for a while, and your videos are great. Been trying to spread the word as much as I can. Thanks for your service. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. The Army was probably one of the best things I ever did. Glad to get out when I got out, but it was fun. When are you going to have a fan meetup in Florida? I may talk to if me and Hoover go back down this next week. I may talk him into having one somewhere. Probably at the Bass Pro Shops there in just north of Fellsmere. Any thoughts on the Field and Stream Shadowcaster 123 angler kayak? If you can afford it, get it. If it's your first kayak, like I said, your first kayak, you just get it, get out on the water, figure things out, and then save your money for a better kayak. Am I planning on doing more river fishing this year? I'm planning on doing a lot more river fishing this year. I absolutely love it. It brings me back to my old trout fishing days. Smile, Gene. Keep positive. I know, man. I know. That's why I just want to go fishing and make videos. Gene, thanks for giving your honest opinion on all the products you recommend, sponsors or not. You know what, Mark? Let me talk about that real quick. I'm about 15 minutes over what I said I was going to be, but I got a lot of flack this week or last week when I mentioned that had switched over to Bonafide, and the guy that gave me the flack, I've already spoken to him off the record. But my integrity is the most important thing in my life. I don't compromise my integrity for anybody. No amount of money will cause me to lie, to say something that I don't mean. that's my number one rule in life is don't lie to me. So I'm not going to lie to you, and that's the biggest thing is when you get my opinion, that's what it is. When I say something's good, that's how I feel. If I say something's bad, that's how I feel. I'm not going to lie to you to make something look good. Um, I'm just not going to do it. So it's the way it is. I think I owe you guys at least that. Check your Instagram messages when you have a chance. My Instagram messages are a mile long because I've been down in Florida fishing. So I will try. If not, send me another one. We got about 1 minute. My kids just walk in the door. They're about to run downstairs and bust in this door. So, best bona fide kayak for the money. There's only one bona fide kayak right now. The 127 is the only one they have right now. They're about to come out with a 107, which is a 10-foot 7. So, why don't I fish from a Hobie anymore? RP, that was a 7 video deal that at the time I was with a network called the Hooked Up Network. They brokered a 7 video deal with Hobie. Hobie gave me a kayak to use for those 7 videos. I tried to stay on with them. We couldn't get things worked out right, and so I gave the kayak back to them. They wanted me. They told me I could sell it, but I was like, you know what? Let me just. I told Keaton over at Hobie, told Keaton over at Hobie. I said, just send one of your pro staffers to my house to pick it up. I'd much rather it be used for that than me try to make money off of it. Also, I saw. Let's see. Sorry. MD Basson, you must have missed that one. Yes, I've used Dobbin rods before. I was actually on one of the first guys on Dobbin's original pro staff back when he had the Generation 1s, the Generation 1 Extremes. Oh, jerkbaits or lipless cranks in the pre-spawn. Lipless crankbaits. Hillary Clinton. I remember you. Anyway, yes, I'm coming to California. Stephen, man, see you there, man. Steven says, see you at Bass University. What he's talking about is I'm going to be in Alabama at Bass University's seminar in a couple of weeks, or next week, I think it is, or next weekend. And I'll be there for 2 days, doing the same thing everybody else is doing. I'm taking notes and listening to the elite guys give away all their secrets. So, fluorocarbon on buzzbait, yes or no? No. Braid or monofilament or copolymer. What brand of blade bait were you using in the blade bait video? I think that was like I don't know what that was. I think it was a Bass Pro brand. The one I love to use are the Binskys, but I didn't have any. I have since gotten some in, but they're called the Binsky blade bait. I love them because they have 4 holes. You can move them around, adjust them, and stuff like that. Justin, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Best topwater setup. I'm assuming you mean the walking baits, like the spooks and stuff like that. I use a medium fast action rod with a 7 3-to-1 gear ratio reel, and usually 15-pound mono or copolymer. Coming to Louisiana anytime soon. Don't have anything planned yet. I usually go in the fall. Chuck says favorite knot for braid. I'm assuming you mean braid to the actual lure. I only use a Palomar knot for that. How much time do you spend on your electronics before you make your first cast on a fishing outing? If I've never been to the lake, 2 maybe 3 hours. If I've been to the lake but it's been like a week, if I know the lake but it's been like a week or so, probably an hour, 40 minutes. Depends on what I see, really, but usually I'll spend a lot of time looking at first. Let's see, what's your favorite jig to use? I'm gonna give myself a shameless plug. Is my series of jigs made by Seabird Outdoors are absolutely my favorite jigs, and he's always made my jigs, always has, even back before he used to be, I can't remember what it is, G-Man Jigs is what it used to be, but then he changed it to Seabird Jigs. But way back in the day, and they're inexpensive and really, really good quality. Please give Dale Hollow a second chance. I will. Thoughts on the Albright knot? Use the FG knot. When are you going to do your next tournament? I'm going to try to fish as many of the Peach State Kayak Angler tournaments as I can, and I want to get better at videoing them so I can actually document it. I get so focused on fishing tournaments, I forget about the cameras, and so that's what I'm going to try to just not make winning an important thing, make filming me fishing the tournament the important thing. So that means I'm going to lose a lot. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here. I'm sorry I didn't get to everybody's questions. I really appreciate you guys subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Be sure to check out my Fishing Shirt of the Month Club. I'm still doing it, $10 a month. I send you a t-shirt. They're usually pretty cool. And then I got another shirt coming out here in the next couple of weeks. Be a Bonfire, Bonfire. Go on that website and look up Flukemaster gear, and then I'm going to have a shirt that my son designed for me out in the next couple of weeks. We're just finalizing all the little things about that. You'll see that coming up. I'll probably talk about it next week. So thanks, guys. I really appreciate you. I can't say that enough. You guys are so awesome for watching my videos and actually enjoying the crap that I put out. So, well, like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get out on the water. Go out and catch some fish. Have a great day. We'll see you.